and welcome to episode 4 of Off the Shelf, your one-stop shop for all the latest news in the library and the wider literary world. I'm Mr. Humphreys.
And I'm Miss Ria.
And we'll start off by talking about a few books, as always, that we recommend, new arrivals for year 7 to 9. So the first one I want to talk about is Loki, a bad god's guide to being good. Now, we talked about Norse myth in the last episode, and this is sort of another book in the Norse myth pantheon, and it's a retelling of the Loki myth. And it looks set to be a pretty big deal. I think it's going to be set to take the literary world by storm, this one. Okay. The premise of it is that Loki has been punished by Odin for, one trick too many. Okay. He's been punished by Odin to live as an 11-year-old boy. Oh. Which is every bit as hilarious as it sounds. Because you can imagine he's going to get a lot of misadventures. And he has to earn his way back into Odin's good graces, essentially. So, yeah, every bit as hilarious as it sounds. And that's not least because his brother Thor is also living with him too. And if you think of the relationship between Greg Heffley and Roderick, it's going to, in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, essentially going to be like that. So I would get in fast if you want to get this one, because it's probably going to be very, very popular very soon. So that's the first one. My second choice is The Green Planet by Lisa Stewart Sharp. Now, this is the children's version of the tie-in book to go with the BBC TV series, the latest with Sir David Attenborough. Yes, And as indeed the series says, I think the main thing this reminds us of is that when we think of wonderful things in nature, things that make us go, wow, we perhaps think of animals before we think of plants. And it's like, actually, plants do lots of impressively breathtaking things as well. And of course, that's what happens in the series. Those of you who watched it will know this. But this book, with its beautiful illustrations, brings that to life even further. So you can see, for example, we've got tropical rainforest and all of the different habitats explaining. And it's just very, very well done, very beautifully constructed and illustrated. So it's a must for any biologist, any nature lovers out there, and because it shows habitats from all over the world as well, in a way that nature documentaries tend to go all over the world. It shows habitats from all over the world. So definitely a must in that sense. And last but not least, I've got The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. Now, this is a gender swap retelling of Sleeping Beauty. It recasts Briar Rose as a man, a prince, and it has two female characters. We have a treasure hunter called Fee and a huntswoman named Shane. And as in the original tale, Briar Rose, the prince in this case, has been cursed to sleep. Okay. And these two characters are charged with breaking the curse. Now, it doesn't quite go as you might think. It's not a word-for-word retelling of Sleeping Beauty, only the men as women and women as men. You can expect it not to have the happy ever after ending that is in the original fairy tale. Don't expect it to inevitably everything works out for the best. Instead, you can expect it to be a lot darker. You can expect lots of sarcastic characters exchanging wisecracks. And it's also got a nice LGBT plus twist thrown into the mix as well. That's
what we like to see.
Indeed we do.
Is it set in the modern day?
No. It's set in a sort of alternative dimension, though. Okay. So it's almost like the perfect, for our more slightly cynical times, it's the perfect tonic for that one. So that's my last recommendation.
That sounds good. Okay, I'll go into what I've got for old readers, so year 10 and up. I want to start with Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. And this is a book that combines the stories of ancient Greece and Victorian Britain. So it sounds very, very atmospheric and gothic, but there's a mythological twist weaving all the way through it. So I think it sounds like your classic kind of gothic Victorian story, Dickens inspired. But there is the big twist of Greek mythology, as the sort of title would imply.
Pandora's box.
I don't really want to say too much without ruining the sort of main plot point. But it's basically a kind of new version of the myriad of Greco-Roman retellings that are coming to our shelves. This kind of takes that and turns it slightly on its head and offers a kind of another world within that. So yeah.
The Victorians are quite renowned for their myths and fairy tales as well. So
and their love of history as well, aren't they? They loved all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, It sounds like a good setting then. Yeah. For that reason.
Yeah, okay. So bit gothic, bit mythological, bit of everything.
Excellent.
Next, I want to talk about Love Marriage by Monica Ali. Now, this is a very long-awaited book from the author, and she wrote Brick Lane, which is quite a renowned fiction novel. When did that come out? Years and years ago.
Early 2000s, I believe.
Yeah. So basically, this one is a long time coming. She's a British Bangladeshi author, and she writes a lot about the experience of being British and Indian and living in the UK and the sort of clash of cultures. So it's a really interesting point of view. But this one is all about how that weaves its way into your romantic life as you get a bit older, and having two different families and sort of how they have to learn to understand each other and might butt heads and things like that. So yeah, it sounds quite interesting. I haven't read it myself, but basically
it's the classic thing of two cultures clashing almost because of a sort of white British versus
Bangladesh, and it's a contemporary novel, so it's set in the present day in London. So if that's a point of view you're interested in, or even a point of view that you could sort of empathise with or feel like you want to,
I reckon if not yourself, it's probably a good chance you know someone who can.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, especially living in this general area, I think we definitely would.
Very multicultural.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that sounds like a really interesting one to pick up.
And hopefully worth the wait.
Hopefully worth the wait, yeah. We'll see. It's only just come out, so...
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, as you said. So.
Haven't read much else about it, but it sounds very interesting. And lastly, I want to talk about Vesper Flights by Helen Macdonald. She wrote H is for Hawk. I don't know if anyone's heard of that one.
Won the Costa Prize.
It did, yes. Yeah, a few years ago. And that was a great read. But basically, if you're a lover of nature and the natural world, similar to the Green Planet book, this one is more about animals, really. But this book is basically a celebration of the outside. Everything that it has to offer. And it just sounds like a really lovely book that appreciates the joys of plants and animals and everything like that. Everything natural. So if you're a nature lover, maybe one to pick up over the summer holidays if you're on a beach or in the countryside or something. But yeah, there's that one. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a couple of natural world books. Nature. Yeah. Nature, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of books coming out about that at the moment,
yeah.
I think,
we're all more attuned and more aware of nature, the importance of nature and the natural world.
I think so.
Okay, thanks, Miss Rio. So moving on then to talk about some news from a wider literary world. So first of all, February, as you probably all know by now, is LGBT plus History Month. And we're approaching the end of the month as we film this. So we just like to remind you that we have a plethora of fiction and non-fiction on LGBT plus books. We do have a lit sock that we did recently that we strongly recommend checking out. We talk about a lot of really good reads because obviously there's a lot of books that people are aware of. Heartstopper is one that's very popular, for example, but there's so much more out there. Don't just restrict yourselves to the popular things. There are plenty of other things to check out. And we have the link, as well as on our YouTube channel, in the accompanying newsletter to this video, we do have a link to that lit sock. We've also got a link to Stonewall, the Stonewall website, and they've got a really good reading list of other books they recommend. And they've sort of like handily broken it down by genre, age group, the different genres of LGBT plus age group. So you strongly advise to seek that out. So lots of LGBT plus reads out there, and of course this ties in with the society that is beginning this week as well. Yes. So couldn't be more timely really. So yes, do check those out if you want to find out a bit more about what there is in the world of literature for LGBT plus.
There's a lot out there, as you said. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
We'll probably just touch and tip with the iceberg really with the we're talking about. So, but a good place to start are those things we're just talking about there.
Okay. Next, I'll talk about the Barnes Kids Lit Fest. And they have started their own lit sock, so literary society like we do here. But the annual Barnes Kids Lit Fest is basically, it happens every summer, and it's a big literary festival for children's reads and YA reads, and they get authors to do talks and different workshops and things like that. But they've recently launched their lit sock, and this will happen monthly. So you simply read the book ahead of joining, and the author will be there to talk about the book. And basically that's everything you need to know.
It's a great way to meet the author.
It is, yeah. So if there's an author that you really like, keep tabs on that because they might turn up.
Yeah, I think watch it monthly. Yeah. So because obviously, as you said, it's a different author each month.
Yeah.
And of course, on the subject of the Bonds Kids Lit Fest, we will be talking about that in a future episode of this, because that is a big deal.
It is.
Definitely. It's a big highlight in the children's fiction calendar. So yeah, watch this space for more on that in general.
Yeah.
Okay, now on the subject of meeting the author, Year 7, lucky you, Year 7, you're going to be treated next month, March the 23rd to be precise, you're going to be treated to an author visit from Ben Davis. Now, as you all know, you've all read The Street Movements, you all got a copy of it over the holidays, and as promised, he is going to come in to speak to you. Finally, the culmination of this big deal, reading The Street Movement, is finally happening. Now, I have been asking, all of you, and you all seem to have enjoyed it, as far as I can tell, so that's great. Now, it's very unusual for when we have an author to come in for everyone who he's talking to have read the book. So he's very excited to be meeting, because he knows you've all read the book. So he's going to talk to you about the book. He's going to talk to you about his other books. He's going to talk to you about some of his writing tips, some of his inspirations as to why he became a writer. Now, in addition to meeting Ben Davis himself, you'll have the chance to get signed copies of his books. And of course, the competition winners are going to be announced. So letters are going home this Friday, as I record this. So do make sure you read the letter carefully, please, on information on how you get a hold of the books and what you need to do. Okay, so make sure you read that. But yeah, we're very much looking forward to it, aren't we, Year 7? So, and me too. It's the first author, because of COVID, it's the first author we've had in for ages too. So that's
very exciting.
It's another thing to look forward to. So yes, we're very much excited for the Ben Davis author visit, 23rd of March.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you know the dates. Hardwired into your brain.
Yeah, just put it in there. Okay, next up I'm going to talk about World Book Day. It's on Thursday the 3rd of March this year, so different date to remember. And it's become a real tradition in this school for staff and students and everyone, and sadly, obviously, in the past few years we've had to miss out on it, so this is kind of the first big hurrah of
another
World
reset
Book
to
Day.
normal. Yeah, author's back, World Book Day's back.
Exactly. So it's really exciting that we're going to be able to do that, and we'd like everybody to come in book character mufti for the occasion, for the day. So basically you can choose whatever you'd like, any character that you really like, doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
Your choice.
Although you can, if you want to, you can dress in a genre of your, because obviously the fashion show, as we said in the last video, you can, if you're in Austin House, then you can dress in your theme, and Kiri has, and so on and so on. So you have that choice, but you don't have to.
Yeah, so whichever one you would prefer, really. You can either go by genre, or you can just buy a character that you really, really like in any book. But there'll be lots of quizzes, lessons and activities happening across the week, which is very fun. So keep tabs on that. That we'll have more information in the library if you have any questions. We can let you know. But there's also going to be a special competition happening.
Yes, which we will tell you about at the end of the video.
You'll find out more, but that's going to be World Book Day based. So yeah, Thursday, 3rd of March, come dressed up as a book character. Very excited to see what everyone does.
Yes, each year we do. There's always some really great costumes.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
I've got my costume planned. Have you got yours planned? Excellent. There we go. There we go. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun day. Always is.
Yeah, always is.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rio. Okay, so next up we have our special guest, and I'm pleased to say we've got our first student special guest. So in our last episode, we had Mr. Newton, the man behind the fashion show, as our special guest. This time we're going to have someone who's going to be very much front and centre at the fashion show, and that is our head girl, Poppy. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Poppy now, and she's going to tell us about some of her favourite reads.
So recently one that I really enjoyed was Perfume by Patrick Suskind, and it's definitely really interesting. It's not a pleasant book to read, so I wouldn't describe it as something which is particularly uplifting and easy, but it's dark and it's twisted, and the description's just beautifully bizarre and strange. And it's about a boy who's born in France, and he has the most incredible sense of smell. It's all about his story and how he inevitably becomes so almost seduced by this smell that he ends up committing murders, essentially. So it's really, really good, but I would definitely recommend it for the older reader, because it does cover quite a few dark and twisted topics. So I really struggled picking one for this because I was going through my brother's bookshelf, which is all my old books from when I was little, and each one that I'd pick up, it was just so lovely remembering all these different stories. But one that I particularly remember kind of staying up at night to read and getting in a bit of trouble was the Surbiton Hall series by Emerald Fennell. And it was kind of surrounded by a boy who goes to a boarding school, which is quite creepy and has lots of kind of ghost stories, and that's a genre which I do really enjoy actually. So that's probably why I really loved it. I just remember it being a fantastic story. Right, this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial answer, but I think Wuthering Heights, and I don't know if it's because I came to it with a really high expectation, but I just really struggled kind of gripping to any of the characters just purely because they're so detestable. And I do understand that is the point of the novel, in the sense that it is a critique on kind of human behaviour, I suppose, but at the same time I do also think it's really important that with a novel that you do enjoy it and you do have some emotional connection with the characters. By no means am I saying that I don't applaud and recognise Emily Bronte or the Bronte sisters for their pioneering kind of work and effort in forecasting kind of female authors, and I do really enjoy some of her other novels. It's just this one in particular I really struggled to kind of get to grips with, and I do commend its kind of gothic legacy, I suppose, that it holds, but I just really struggled with, I suppose, enjoying it really. So I was kind of struggling a little bit with this question, because I think a lot of books have already been made into kind of TV or film, but Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, I know that there have been a few TV series which were very loosely based, but I think it would be really interesting to see a film which was really direct from the actual novel, because it's just a fantastic piece of work which is a kind of dystopian, utopian book which discusses possible kind of future scenarios of how our world is gonna look, basically, and discusses the negative impacts of progression of technology and how society possibly might be run or kind of based, really. So I think that would be really interesting to see it perhaps twisted to a kind of more of a modern outlook nowadays, and to how it's relevant to our time and how our society runs. So I think that could be something which could be really cool. So down to 3, I think my gut was telling me that I really love the book Chocolat by Joanne Harris, just because it's got quite a personal meaning to me, because me and my mum used to read it together, and it was something that has really lovely thoughts, and is a real comfort book that I can always go back and read, just because it's so beautifully written and it's just really lovely and easy. And then I also really love Birdsong. I think it's just beautiful, and it has such a poignant message that I think kind of no matter when you're reading it or your age or kind of your own outlook, it has such a poignant message that kind of transcends all of that. And then I think also 1984 by George Orwell, just because I think it's the kind of book that you can reread and still get a different kind of meaning and answer. I've read it twice now, and I found myself getting different things and picking up different kind of ideas from parts of the novel. So I think that's something which I really love, and I'm really interested in politics and how our society runs. So I think it's just really fantastic.
Well, thank you very much, Poppy. It's great to hear from a student. really enjoyed that. So next up, what we're going to talk about is our annual off-the-shelf competition. Well, not annual, but our competition. Now, the winner of the last competition, if you remember, was Olivia in Year 8. So congratulations, Olivia. We loved all your reviews. They were so good. They were so detailed. And they were books that I'd read myself. So I
not
really
that influenced our decision.
No, of course not. But yeah, it was great to see a different point of view, and you made me think different things about the books from when I read it. So congratulations, Olivia.
Thank you, and please come to the library to pick up your prize.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next competition, so we alluded to it earlier, World Book Day. So, as always, the magnetic board is going to be given over to All Things World Book Day. And it's going to be information on how to enter the competition on there. But to tell you what it is exactly, you need to collect a World Book Day bingo sheet from the library, and then just basically, you know how bingo works. You just got to do things, match this, do this task, tick off, write it in. Now, what we're going to do, you can enter as many times as as many entries as you like. We're not going to award. It's not going to be like a game of bingo where you award it to the first person to shout bingo. We're going to look through the box. So the competition is going to be open all week. We're going to look through the box, look through all the entries, and the best ones, the ones that have done the most interesting things, to find the most interesting answers in answer to all of the things on the grid. Those are the ones who are going to be awarded a prize. We have a top three. Because it's World Book Day, we're going to have 3 prizes. We're going to be extra special, because normally it's just one. We're going to have 3 prizes, because it's World Book Day, okay? So you've got a week, so don't rush it. Quality, not speed. Okay, that's the key thing to take away from that. Because you're not going to win anything by doing it in 2 minutes, but you are going to win it if you take your time to get some really good answers.
Think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So please do that. So yes, we're looking forward to the entries. Yeah. We're looking forward to World Book Day. Happy World Book Day, everyone.
Happy World Book Day.
So that concludes episode 4 of Off the Shelf. Until next time, take care and keep reading. Bye.